You got your highbrow, switching your walk, and you don't even look.
Hello, I'm Mike Billiot. Welcome to Interview. Today, my guest is State Representative Damon Baldone. For the break, we were talking about how you first got into the real estate business because you bought a property which you turned into a 3-unit real estate investment. Now, at that time, it's not a business for you, right? It's just kind of an investment on the side of your real occupation, which at that time was an attorney. How did you turn that one property into a business?
Well, again, it was by accident. It wasn't by plan. I bought that house, and then again, it started. I had the 3 units. Another 3 units became available. A duplex with a garage apartment. Actually, bought from Judge Fungi. It came for sale, and that was my second property I purchased.
Judge Fungi has been a guest on my show in the first season.
Great guy, great guy, and so I bought that, and that was my second. So I kind of doubled. I had 6 units, and that was probably 6 months or 8 months into owning the first properties. And I think that was good. It was a long, steady investment, and it's nothing that you make money on overnight. It pays for itself in the long run, but it was a good, stable investment. Again, real estate. I mean, being an attorney was my primary business at that time, and it just kind of grew from there, mushroomed from there. And then some other units came available. Some other houses close to the other ones. My first purchase came available, so I bought those. People started learning I was in the business, so sometimes I had some properties for sale that succession or something. They would come to me and say, "Look, we know you're buying real estate. Would you like to buy something out?" And I'd buy something. And I started watching the real estate market, and eventually I got my real estate license. And now I have my broker's license because I want to make sure I follow the real estate market.
Now now you have a business. What's the name of the business that where you buy and sell real estate, or where you have real estate on the market?
Well, I have several corporations. I have Baldone Real Estate as a real estate firm, which we buy and sell for other people, as well as myself. Baldone Real Estate. But I also have several corporations that hold my properties. Damon J. Baldone, LLC, Chateau Creole Apartments, Plantation Trace. Those are the 3 main corporations that hold the real estate property.
Okay, and we were talking before we left for the break that you've just opened a bed and breakfast. When did that open? Tell me what type of business it is, and what kind of services does it provide?
Yeah, I was so happy to purchase the Doncereau house in Thibodaux. If you don't know, the Doncereau house is a beautiful house in downtown Thibodaux. It was built in 1840 by the Doncereau family. Doncereaus were Canadian doctors that moved down to Thibodaux to work, and several generations of doctors lived at that house and worked at that house. Again, it's an antebellum home, and I've always wanted to own a plantation or antebellum home just because of the history of our area. I mean, I love Louisiana, and I love Terrebonne and Lafourche, and it's part of our roots. And I was able to purchase this house and put it back into the public's domain. It's open as a bed and breakfast. The 8 years prior to that, it had been a private residence, so it had been closed. So I'm glad to be able to allow people to see the house and enjoy the house.
Now, has Doncereau House ever served as a bed and breakfast prior to you opening it as a bed and breakfast?
It was. I believe from 95, 96 to I'm sorry, somewhere around, yeah, probably around 95, 96 for about 6 to 8 years. It was a bed and breakfast as well as a restaurant. Then it closed down, and Buddy Nakan, who's a resident from Thibodaux, purchased it and converted it into a private residence. And he put a ton of work and attention to that house. He really renovated the house and made it the jewel it is today.
Now, is Doncereau House just a bed and breakfast, or do you also host events there? Can people get married there? Do you have wedding receptions? Is there space and availability for those types of engagements as well?
Absolutely. We've had several weddings already. I've been open about 2 months as a bed and breakfast and reception hall. We've had fundraisers. We had a fundraiser for Congressman Charlie Malonzo, who's running for Senate. We had one for him recently. Wedding receptions, that's what we're there for. Wedding receptions and bed and breakfast is our main categories. But also events. We have some charity events that we're holding there as well.
Now, I know that you are spend a lot of time in Baton Rouge in this legislature when session is going on. You also have a law practice and a real estate business or real estate businesses. You are obviously not at the Doncereau House on a day-to-day basis. Uh, who runs the establishment, and who would someone talk to if they wanted to book an engagement with the property?
I felt I was really lucky. When I purchased a Don's Row house, I purchased it at an auction, and I wasn't, to tell you the truth, I wasn't expecting to get that house that day, but I felt that I couldn't pass it up because I always wanted to own a piece of our history, and it was my opportunity. If I didn't buy it that day, I may never own an antebellum home. And so when I purchased a home, the local newspaper did an article on me buying the home. And I didn't even know what I was going to do with the house. I didn't know if I was going to make an office out of it, try to rent it. I mean, it was a deal I couldn't pass up. But I thought the best thing to do would probably be bed and breakfast and wedding receptions to help pay for the maintenance. It's very costly to maintain these antebellum homes. A lot of wood, a lot of obviously old wood, and a lot of old brick that has to constantly need love and attention. Well, anyway, when the newspaper did the article, Dr. Sweeney, a doctor here in Houma, called me and said, you know, Damon, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have been wanting to do bed and breakfast for years. We've been trying to find them a perfect place, and this would be great. They can come back to Houma. They were from Florida. And I said, great. Have them give them my number and have them call me. And it's Laurie and Paul Worrell from Florida. I didn't want to make a rash decision, so I put out application process, and I got about 50 to 60 resumes of people who want to run the bed and breakfast, with some extremely qualified people. But it came back to the first couple that actually applied for the job, Laurie and Paul, and they have done an unbelievable job. Paul is an architect by trade, so he's great as far as knowing the ins and outs of the house. Also laying out for weddings and stuff, we have to arrange tables. He can do computer generate layouts to show the brides, you know, how many people we can seat. You know, we can easily seat 400 or 500 people. And Laurie was in marketing, and that's another thing you have to do with bed and breakfast, marketing and hospitality. Unbelievable host. I couldn't have asked for a better couple to run the bed and breakfast.
So do they actually live on the property?
They do live on the property. There's a small guest house in the back, which they live in day to day, but they also have use of the house, Don's Row house.
Okay. All right. When we come back from the next segment, I specifically want to talk about how the British Petroleum oil spill has affected the legislative session that just ended on Monday, and what you think and how long you think this it will have an effect on South Louisiana. We'll be right back with an interview with Mike Moore.